Hello everyone. Because we're still talking about the chemical reaction and the chemical equation, we want to know how to keep a number of atoms in the reactants for each element the same as in the product. For this lesson, we're going to talk about balancing a chemical equation and how to balance the chemical equation to keep number of atoms the same in each side. If you look at this equation here, you have carbon and oxygen are reactants, and you have the arrow here. Then you have the product, which is CO, carbon monoxide. We have learned before the number at below to the right of the element is called a subscript. Okay. But here in this equation, as you see, we have numbers in front of these, before these elements. And for example, here you have carbon, and this carbon, it has a number here, which is number 2. Also here we have a number 2 before carbon monoxide. This number that you put is this one is placed before the chemical formula is called a coefficient. Coefficient is a number placed in front of a chemical formula. So we use this coefficient to balance a chemical equation. So only coefficients, not subscript, can be changed. Yani if you have a chemical equation is not balanced and you need to balance it, you need to keep the numbers before and after the reaction the same. We make balancing equation. Okay, we don't change the subscript. The subscript stays the same, but what do we do during a balancing chemical equation? We're just adding a coefficient. Okay, and now we're going to learn step by step how to make balance chemical equation. Look at this example. This example here, you have H2 hydrogen plus O2 oxygen. The arrow, then the product is H2O. To know if this equation is balanced or not, to know how to balance equation, let's look at each element at each side. Let's look at hydrogen first. Look at hydrogen. How many hydrogen we have here in the reactant? As you see here, we have only 2 hydrogen atoms. Just write like this. Number 2 represent number of hydrogen atoms. This one again, this one down is called subscript. I don't change it, just represent number of atoms. So hydrogen, we have here only 2 atoms. Okay. What about hydrogen after the arrow and the product? How many hydrogen atoms in the product? Also, they are 2. So as you see, number of hydrogen before the reaction and after the reaction the same, no change. So they are conserved. They are keeping the law of conservation of mass. Okay, so what about oxygen? We still have here oxygen before the reaction, in the reactant. This oxygen, how many oxygen atoms? As you see, there are 2 oxygen atoms. We write it in this way. Okay? Then, how many oxygen atoms in the product? In the product, we have only 1 oxygen atom. Is this equation balanced? This equation represents the law of conservation of mass? No. So, how to balance this equation? We have to make number of oxygen before and after the reaction the same. To make them the same, we can add something is called coefficient. The coefficient, the number is in front of the molecule. Okay? For oxygen, you have 2 here. What shall we do for oxygen? We just add coefficient here before the molecule. We don't add it here between hydrogen and oxygen. We add it for the whole molecule because this 2, it's for the whole molecule. It represents 2 water molecules here. So after after you put this to 4H2O, that means how many oxygen atoms we have here? So they are not 1, they are 2. You multiply it by oxygen, so here you have 2 oxygen atoms. So as you see here, number of oxygen atoms before and after, they are the same. But still we have a problem here. If you look at number of hydrogen now, there are now 4, not 2. So this one is wrong. We still have a problem. How to make number of hydrogen before and after the reaction the same? All what you have to do, just to write here, but add a coefficient here. So this 2 multiplied by this 2, so we have here also 4 hydrogen atoms. So as you see here, number of hydrogen atoms for before and after the reaction are 4, so it's balanced. What about oxygen? They are 2 before the reaction in the reactants and 2 after the reaction, so they are 2. So now this equation is balanced. This all what you do during the balancing chemical equation, you add coefficient, you put the coefficient. You don't make any change on subscript. Subscript stays the same. So look here, number 2, it will stay the same. Number 2 here stay the same. Number 2 here stay the same. Okay. To practice this, you have a worksheet number 4. You will find it on portal. You have the steps how to balance chemical equation. Also you have examples to practice this one. I'll show you another question here. You have a question is which one of these is balanced? If you look at them, which one represent number of elements before and after for each kind the same, they have the same number. Look at the first one. Here you have 2 by 2, 4 nitrogen, but here you have 2 nitrogen atom, here 4 nitrogen, so this one is not balanced as you see. But look at the second one. 3 times 2, here this 2 3 is coefficient with it 2, this subscript, so you have here 6 nitrogen atoms, and here you have 6 hydrogen atoms. At the end the product, which is NH3, so 6 times 3, so which means you have how many hydrogen atoms? That means you have 18 hydrogen atoms, so this one is not balanced. Let's look at the third one. You have 2 nitrogen atoms, and the product you have 3. This is 3, it's for nitrogen and for hydrogen, and you have here 6 and here hydrogen atoms, but here you have 9, so this one is not balanced. Look at the last one. The last equation, you have N2, 2 nitrogen atoms, plus 3 hydrogen H2, which means 3 molecules of hydrogen. It will form 2 molecules, 2 NH3, so 2 nitrogen in the reactant, 2 nitrogen in the product. Here you have 6 hydrogen atoms of hydrogen, here also 2 times 3, so which means for hydrogen you have 6, so this one is a balanced equation. Okay,
that's correct.
I'll give you another example. Actually, you can find all of these examples, many examples, you will find it in worksheet number 4. Also, you can check your book, page 216. It has a question, you have question 9, also question 8, to practice balancing chemical equation. Thank you for listening.